Very good afternoon, all. Cybersecurity is becoming one of the greatest challenges of the modern digital era, and cyber attacks are the top 10th risk for doing business in the globe. This is by Global Risks Report 2020. With an unexpected situation of COVID-19, there is an expected and huge increase in the usage of internet through teleworking, online shopping, and remote education, which could make everyone, organizations, and individuals at the mercy of cyber criminals. As a result, the demand of cybersecurity tools, technology, and skilled personnel has been increased exponentially in the world. However, the cybersecurity industry already suffers from increasing shortage of professionals and leaders to solve the unlimited cybersecurity risks and challenges. It is estimated that there would be 3.5 million vacant cybersecurity jobs by 2021 around the world, which means that the global demand for cybersecurity workforce needs to grow at the staggering rate of 145% each year, just to meet the shortage of skilled professionals. This is by Cybersecurity Jobs Reports 2018-2021. Thus, it becomes a grand subject for the global stakeholders to meet this demand of talent in the building a resilient, secure, and safe cyberspace. Moreover, cybersecurity is unfortunately a male-dominated field around the world. As a percentage of women in cybersecurity is 24%. This is by Isaac Square Study, 2019. On the other hand, it is estimated that if the number of women professionals working in cybersecurity equals that of men, the economic footprint of cybersecurity industry could increase by $30.4 billion in the US and 12.6 billion pounds in the UK. This is by Opportunity in Cybersecurity Report 2020. Talent, regardless of gender, has been considered as the new capital in the modern world. Therefore, empowering women in all professions is important to drive innovation and leverage their untapped for social economic prosperity, said by Klaus Schwab. So in order to solve and help this skill gap and to enhance the protection of cyberspace, Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdul Aziz, Crown Prince, Deputy Prime Minister, and Minister of Defense has adopted two initiatives. One, to protect children in cyberspace, and the other to empower women in cybersecurity through encouraging and supporting them in the field, as women should be enabled to obtain and required education and qualification to occupy leading position in cybersecurity industry. In line with this Royal Highness MBS initiative of women empowerment in cybersecurity, Mina Isaac is conducting this panel discussion along with Saudi Federation for Cybersecurity, Programming and Drones as a national sponsorship. So from this point, allow me to introduce myself and my colleagues who's going to participate in this panel. My name is Basma Ahmadoush. I'm a cybersecurity consultant and co-founder of Women in Cybersecurity of Middle East, WIXME. I'm with more than 8 years experience in cybersecurity domain. I helped in establishing a new cybersecurity performance section in communication industry, and they helped in establishing a new cybersecurity department from the scratch in finance industry. I have a master in cybersecurity computer network from UK, Now, please allow me to introduce our first panelist, Nikki Cosgrove. She's Cybersecurity Strategy International. Please, Nikki, could you please tell us more about you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this panel, and thanks everyone for joining. My name is Nikki Cosgrove. I am a cybersecurity strategist for international markets at Proofpoint. In my role at Proofpoint, I lead product marketing. I engage with our customers to help them solve their security challenges. But more importantly as well, it's listening to our customers, feeding back those challenges to our product development teams to make sure that we're building global solutions. Before Proofpoint, I was an advisor to CISOs and security professionals at Forrester Research, where I was working with them to build their security strategies and ultimately implement roadmaps to solve the cyber challenges that they had.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Our second panelist, Dr. Fatma Al-Again, founder and CEO of SIAG, Cybersecurity Community. Dr. Fatma, please, could you tell us more about you?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me in this panel alongside very successful women in cybersecurity. My name is Fatma Al-Akil, and I am an assistant professor at King Saud University. I'm also the CEO and founder of SIAG Information Security, a nonprofit organization. I have almost 15 years experience in the academia field and focusing the last 10 years on cybersecurity consultancy and research. I'm also a big fan of cybersecurity awareness and taking on a cultural, let's say, a mission in changing cybersecurity culture among everybody to help them be more aware about cybersecurity and its impact on the society.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fatma. Our final panelist, Sinara Marsh. She's a senior technical marketing manager. Please, Sinara, could you tell us more about you?
Absolutely. Thank you guys for inviting me to the panel as well. So my name is Sinara Marsh. I am a cybersecurity strategist as well as a senior technical marketing manager here at VMware Carbon Black. My real interest in cybersecurity in general is focusing in on enabling novice users. I think when we think about cybersecurity, we think about, people in hoodies, reverse engineering malware, and that's the only thing you can do. But there's a lot of people that need to get started in cybersecurity. So my focus and my attention has always been at enabling those novice users, thinking about, adversaries are collaborating together. So why aren't we?
Thank you so much. Thank you all for accepting the invitation. And thank you for having you here. Based on provided statistics in the beginning of this panel, allow me please to ask you the following questions. When and how can we, as a percentage of women in cybersecurity, reach 51%? And how can we return this percentage when we reach it exactly? So shall we start with Nikki, please?
Sure. It's an interesting question. And I think, first of all, we have to step back and we have to look at the threat landscape, because fundamentally what we're trying to do is protect businesses. We're trying to protect individuals. We're trying to protect their data, their intellectual property, and ultimately their money as well from getting into the wrong hands. And if you look at the attack profile right now, the criminals have shifted, right? They're less and less leveraging technical vulnerabilities. They're less and less looking for those 0 days that they can hack, because that's extremely expensive for the criminals to do. And in fact, what's much more effective is targeting people, right? Looking for those human vulnerabilities, social engineering people to click on those links or download the malware or interact with the payload. And so I think if you look at the threat landscape from the perspective of where the threats are shifting to, it helps you realize that actually bringing women into the field isn't just about, getting to 50% and driving towards gender diversity. It's about solving the threat landscape as we see it today. Because if the criminals are targeting women in our businesses, which today make up 50% of the workforce, then we need to have the same mindset, the same psychology that the criminals are implementing to try and socially engineer those women that they're targeting. And this is why I think it's critical for us to bring women into the teams, because not only is it a good thing to do from a societal perspective, it will ultimately increase the protection level of our businesses, because you're bringing in that mindset of protecting the people that are being targeted.
Yeah, and I would say that it's just really interesting, because if that's the way that we're going about it, right, we need to look at diversifying so that we can look at the problem a little bit differently. And if we think about women and some of the historically strong suits or attributes that women are given, you know, it's typically something where women are a little bit more detail oriented, right? So they're going to look at different components of an adversarial threat. And I think it's that perspective that will bring additional value to being in cybersecurity, right? We need to think about all different avenues, but we also need to engage cybersecurity and ensure that it's thought of as a team sport, right? If we have the majority of the industry coming at it from a male-dominated perspective, and if we're missing that component of that detail-oriented, not saying that men aren't detail-oriented, but maybe women start thinking about how to educate people about cybersecurity, where it's more tangible for you or I, or, you know, it can't be security's job alone to think about security. To Nikki's point, if the people are the weakest link, then we need to find different ways to talk and attract people into thinking about cybersecurity in their day-to-day job, even if they aren't cybersecurity professionals. And I think that's where the diversification of gender is going to be very key.
I would say the question is, how do we reach a higher level of having more women into this industry? As we all know, that women usually are less in the tech field in general, and it's a bit of a challenge to actually push those numbers up, especially with the very niche domain, let's say, about like cybersecurity. However, I think through the right education and the right kind of, let's say, motivation given in the educational programs and training given to women, just like these, as you see, those STEM programs that are, let's say, in many schools, trying to attract women into going to science, technology, and engineering, there could be some initiatives that focus on attracting women into going to educational fields within that domain. So the first part would be the right motivation and educational program. That's, like, let's say, from the women's side of the equation. However, we need to not forget that the entities hiring women are also in charge of raising this percentage, because they need to be able to offer diverse types of jobs that accommodate different skill sets that women have. And at the same time, once they're hired, they make sure that always up-to-date training is given to them and encourage them to take more leading positions to retain this percentage through time. So in any place that you would work in, no matter what area of specialty it is, if you're not actually given the chances, let's say, to go up in the ladder, you will always not be interested in continuing. So I would say it is from both sides, from the women's side and also from the entities hiring women. Let's say it's a shared responsibility.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we need to consider as well is, you know, if you look at cybersecurity as a field, it's still relatively young, right? It's 20 years that cybersecurity as a term has existed. And so if we're looking to fill these roles, even men, women, whatever the gender, if you're looking to fill these roles with the traditional education that you would expect to fill a technical role with, looking for these cybersecurity degrees, for example, you don't really have a lot of people that have gone down that path. And so I think there's some creativity that we need to think about in the cybersecurity industry of what we're looking for. Does it need to be a traditional university degree? Could we go down the apprentice route, right? Find someone who we train into cybersecurity, women that we train into cybersecurity. Do we even need degree level, or could we find people that have, like you said, Dr. Fatima, different skills, communication skills, you know, risk awareness skills, and take them down a different path of cybersecurity? It's not just the technical skills that we need.
And Nikki, to the point, because it is so new, a lot of people don't have cyber degrees, right? It's something that has only come about in American universities in the last couple of years, I would say. You know, prior to that, a lot of people have different backgrounds. But with the cybersecurity skills gap that we were talking about earlier, it's interesting because a lot of people actually have trouble when people come right from university into a position because they have a lack of hands-on relationship with what cybersecurity actually is, right? They may have the book intelligence for it, but do they have the apprenticeship, right? Do they have that hands-on knowledge? Because in cybersecurity, what we know this week isn't what we knew last month, right? Things are constantly changing. So how do universities even keep up with that? So it is definitely interesting. You know, we need to spread our net in terms of who we're hiring and why, and looking at different skill sets outside of just university preparation.
Yeah, interesting. Each point I do agree, and in each point you have mentioned, we will go more deep dive to discuss it. So women in cybersecurity positions are often uncertain about career path or about their career development, as many are unsure how they fit in, what their primary role in, and how they define themselves. From some research that has been done and personal experience, I found out that cybersecurity women are going more or working more in GRC, in strategic, and more management than a technical side. For example, like SOC, threat intelligence, operation, so on. So this question I would like to ask Nikki about, do you think this is due to the lack of encouragement, engagement, and guidelines from their management, or women just found that it's much easier and difficult to work in the technical part? Or what other reason do you think? And how can we encourage more women to go in technical part?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and definitely something that, I mean, every company is different, every region is different, but you do typically observe that, you know, in security and awareness professionals and roles, you know, you see a lot of women in those roles because, again, it's about communication. It's about training. It's about changing behaviors. And those are certainly skills that women have. Now, I don't think we should be negative when we say that there are women in governance, risk, and compliance, you know, there are women in training and awareness, because this is a positive, right? Security is such a broad field. There's so many requirements, so many paths you can take. And I don't think we should, you know, denigrate one specific role over another, or say to be in cybersecurity, the best role is to be technical and be a SOC analyst. There are lots of different requirements. However, I would say that from the business perspective, a lot of these technical roles, the way that they're described might put some women off applying for those roles, right? You look at these technical roles and it says we need a rock star, and it's got these ads of these guys that are in hoodies and they're all like, you know, chums, and they're in the basement, and you kind of feel like, oh, I'm not really sure I want to be in that environment. So we need to think as businesses of how we're advertising or portraying these roles, and make it more appealing to a diverse group of people. And we've got some stats here. We love stats, but I think it's important for businesses to recognize the business benefit of doing that, because data shows that where you have vast diversity in a team, and I'm not just talking about gender, but diversity in education, diversity in, you know, ethnicity, where you have that diversity, those teams make better decisions up to 87% of the time. So there's business benefit in doing this, in having lots of different people in your roles. But I would say as a recommendation as well, women, we can't just rely on management, or we can't just rely on the business to do it for us. There's also personal responsibility. You know, if you see a role and you don't feel that you have all of the skills right now, you know, as Sanara mentioned, go for it, put your hand up, try it out. You know, get that experience. You don't have to check all of the boxes right now. Network, go to those different networking events, join different groups, learn, experiment. The thing about cybersecurity is it's fundamentally about curiosity, right? Wanting to learn because it's always changing. And so I think personally, there is this responsibility in being curious and experimental and trying out that role, even if you don't believe you have all the skills right now.
Yeah, and with the technical piece, right? I think that to your point, if you think about women and some of the stats that people know about women versus men gender roles, is that women won't apply for a position unless they meet something like 90% of the requirements, whereas men, if they meet 60%, maybe 50%, they're applying for the job. So it comes down to kind of how we were taught to make decisions, I almost feel. And when we think about cybersecurity and that skills gap, I think when you start applying for or posting SOC roles and analyst roles, what ends up happening is because there is a shortage, people go in and assess all of their gaps, and then they create this posting that's this unicorn posting saying you have to have all of these different requirements, and it's going to deter many, many different women, even if no one could have all of those different prereqs, right? And so if men are applying for those jobs, that's going to be where we're starting to skew that, that attraction as well.
Sounds very motivation. Like from here, we are speaking in this discussion about the complex of this career. Cybersecurity, I think most of us, if you do agree with me, that are complex and not attractive for women due to its work natural, that as you mentioned, Sinara, it needs required daily updates. Every time, every day, every week, we have new things in the field coming and repeat changes in it. So one of the methods to encourage more women in cybersecurity and support them is through education. As you mentioned, ladies, through their education and training. So from your experience, Sinara, are education and training today helping in skill gap? Do the educational institutions have innovative ways to promote cybersecurity as an attractive career? For example, introducing creative, modular, and hands-on activities to teach programming, networking, and other cybersecurity related topics in a fun way or in more attractive way that can have more people, more women especially, in the field.
Yeah, I would say that this is a learning thing for everyone, right? There's been a hyper focus on how to get women involved in more tech fields in general, a lot of STEM programs coming out in the last couple of years, and I think we're all making strides in the right direction. So it's definitely a learning step that we have to go through. But to your earlier stat, next year we're projected to have 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity positions, right? That's just an unmanageable number. So if we don't do what we can to appropriately target both men and women, we're doing ourselves a disservice, because we already know that people in the industry are overworked, they're getting stretched thin, and when that happens, misconfigurations happen, and adversaries aren't going to wait just because you're stressed out, right? We need to be able to take advantage of it. So in terms of different learning opportunities to start making it more attractive for women, I do think it goes back to some of the retention postings, right? So when we actually have a posting for someone that we want to hire, we need to be mindful of these unicorn positions that people post, right? It doesn't attract women. And that's something that's doing your company a disservice, your teammates a disservice as well, because we need to start looking at it from a practical mindset, right? If you lose someone on your team because cybersecurity, as a plug, has been at 0% unemployment since, I believe, 2011. It's a great industry to be a part of, but it's something that if you don't meet those requirements, or if you assess those gaps and say, hey, you need to know X, Y, and Z, and these aren't typically on the same playing fields, that's a scary thing to undertake as a woman. And so what I think cybersecurity has done well in terms of making things interesting is starting to have, and maybe it came about more so because of the pandemic and the virtual learning, but thinking about virtual threat hunter events, right? Or capture the flag events. These are things that are starting to target both male and female teammates to come in and actually try out their cybersecurity skills. Or think about the adversary community and how many free resources they have and how easy it is to almost get into things like pen testing because there's a lot of open source hacking tools. I think we need to get more along those lines with cybersecurity practitioners as well, right? More free resources, more hands-on practice. And I think those virtual threat hunting events are something that is definitely a fun way to learn about cybersecurity, but I could still see barrier to entry for women being that it is very male dominated, right? Do you want to go into the unknown and test your skills against, the guys group, right? How can we make that more enticing and make that more friendly for all genders to be participating in?
Yeah. So allow me to ask Dr. Fatma Lagel. Dr. Fatma, along with the NBS initiative for empowering women in cybersecurity, various initiatives are in place across the globe with common goal, which is supporting women in cybersecurity. They often include education with training and networking, mentorship, and socializing among the other findings. From your experience, how do you find governmental, educational, and non-profit organizations supporting and helping to reshape this skill set for women?
Well, let me answer this question from the Saudi Arabian efforts from three dimensions, I would say, from the government side, from the educational side, and also from the nonprofit. Of the government efforts, we would say that the Saudi government has established the National Cybersecurity Authority, which is it's a legislative body for cybersecurity in the kingdom. And one of its main strategic goals is building capacity. And they focus on providing, let's say, professional cybersecurity training to government and critical infrastructure entities in the country to train both male and female into cybersecurity skills. So that's one of their efforts. The other thing is that we have the Saudi Federation for Cybersecurity Programming and Drones. It's also a government agency that focuses on building capacities and skills for citizens in a let's say, competitive way through hackathons, competitions and training, inviting also international lecturers, and trying to build, let's say, a culture of getting into the cybersecurity domain. So that's from the government side. From the educational side, I would say there are plenty of new established programs that, let's say, degrees, starting from a higher diploma, bachelor degree, master's programs, and many different training as well provided for Saudi nationals through different programs, trying to help them into getting into that field and supporting them to learn new skill set. And that would help also in reshaping, let's say, the skill sets that we are all aware of. The last thing that I'm very passionate about is the nonprofit side of all these efforts. There are let's say, few nonprofit organizations initiated in Saudi Arabia. Some of them focused on kids' development and awareness within the cybersecurity domain, teaching them the best practices to be online and how to introduce cybersecurity to that younger age, and maybe made them more motivated to learn about it in the future. Also, there are some other nonprofit organizations, such as the one I'm leading. It's called SIAJ, focuses on let's say, hand-holding the new people in the domain trying to expose all types of cybersecurity and encouraging them into learning, and also providing mentorship to them, building a community, making them help each other in different skills. If you're a programmer or someone who has network background, we can learn from each other. And then these kind of efforts together, they help to reshape the skill set, let's say in general. And we're making a very, very good progress in Saudi Arabia as a country. We are number one according to the GCI index compared to several Arab countries. We are number one for 2018 and the 13th globally. And that is a great achievement for all of us. And we're doing our best to enhance how we get engaged with the cybersecurity activities, and hopefully they will come around to reshaping the skill set.
That's great. Sounds very, what I found out, to be honest with you ladies, from this discussion, found it very interesting and very inspiring, which is definitely will help women to encourage more of them to be in the field and inspiring them as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's empower and secure together. From this panel, I would like to bring to your kind attention that Women in Cybersecurity Middle East, WIXMI group, that it's hosting its first annual virtual conference on 14th and 15th of November 2020, that will have numerous keynotes, panel discussion, and talk sessions covering trending and critical topics in cybersecurity. The event will also host a Capture the Flag city competition on the 12th and 13th November 2020, as well as the first time ever the WIXMI 2020 awards for recognizing the remarkable women in cybersecurity within the Middle East, within the Middle East region. The conference is titled with WIXMI 2020 with the theme of "To Empower and Secure Together." This is emphasizing our WIXMI role in empowering women in cyber and securing our communities by unifying together with other forms and entities. And the aim of our conference is to bring the women in the field of cybersecurity in the Middle East to the forefront of international stage by creating a robust platform for empowering these women and connect them with international and regional thought leaders and peers, thus helping them achieve their professional goals. WIXMI, which was formulated back in April 2018, has currently over 800 women members, varying from high school students who are passionate about cybersecurity to executive and directors. The vision of WIXMI is to promote and increase women participation in the field of cybersecurity through different streams, such as events, memberships, mentorships, awards and recognition, education, training, technical contribution, which is responsible for updating on current threat intelligence. Together, we will enlighten not only the Middle East region, but the whole world that there is a lot of committed, talented, and expert women in various areas of cybersecurity, and we will contribute into promoting women expertise at the regional and global level, inshallah. From here, I would like to thank you, each one of you ladies, for attending this panel discussion. Thank you so much for your time. Highly appreciated. Thank you so much for your input. Thank you all.